I don't know about you, but it's hard to watch these two major parties in the US, the Democratic Party and the GOP, fighting over the corpse of the American people, because that's what's happening right now and has been happening for a long time, but it's in full view of the global community what the US is doing to its citizens. They're playing a game of who can hold out with the federal stimulus package that is required to actually stop millions and millions and millions of people from being homeless, from not being able to get any kind of health care, and also to be able to feed their children and all that kind of thing. So there's 5 million people on the verge of the long-term unemployment, 27 weeks and over, and they haven't received any sort of real, even from the beginning with the $1,200 pitiful dollars, the American dollars, they haven't received any real support from the government. And it's not their fault that they're in this position. Things weren't great before this COVID pandemic, but now it's dire, really dire for a lot of people. And it's been dire for many, many black and brown people in the United States, and now it's dire for a whole bunch of people. This lack of support for the public is, firstly, it's Donald Trump's fault, but it's also the Democratic Party's fault, because neither of them are willing to really help the public. The Democratic Party want the public to really suffer so that they will vote for them. This is really underneath it all, I believe, anyway. So they're doing their best to, they've helped out the corporations and given them another bailout, socialism for the wealthy. So the big stimulus packages in the beginning were for the wealthy, basically, and for corporations. And now they're just throwing measly crumbs to the American public, and have done since this COVID pandemic began, which is outrageous, because I'm going to play you something from Jordan Chariton from Status Quo, who fortunately has embraced the MMT, which is simply a description of the operational reality of a sovereign economy. He sort of seems to understand that now, and I've mentioned this for the last couple of years, MMT, that we really need to understand this so that it will actually outrage us when we really understand that sovereign economies like Australia, Canada, the United States, the UK, and there are other countries too, we have sovereign economies, and there are some constraints, but basically the government can actually, you see them funding war, and they have no problems pulling out trillions of dollars for war, and that's because they are a currency issuer and they can afford a lot of things, but they are making political decisions not to help people in a pandemic. They're making political decisions backed by corporations not to give people Medicare for all in the United States. They're making political decisions in so many ways to not support the public, because the public has become irrelevant. And basically, as I said in the beginning, these two duopoly, these two parties, which is just the right and the far right of one big party, are fighting over the corpse of the American people. If the Democratic Party, which I don't believe is really serious about wanting to get into power, because they still get all their corporate lobbyist money and so forth, so really why worry? But if they are in any ways interested in getting into power, they're certainly not doing anything. They could have had Bernie Sanders in, but they'd rather lose than have a progressive in anywhere near the president of the United States. Both the Democratic Party and the GOP are against the likes of Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders, I think is wanting in many ways, particularly he's a soft imperialist at best, and I'd say worse than a soft imperialist. But anyway, let's just say Bernie Sanders would have done some things for the public, right? They'd rather not have Bernie Sanders in the US Democratic Party and have somebody like Joe Biden, who's probably going to be pulled out after about 6 months due to lack of mental capacity to be in that position. And then Harris will come in the back door, Kamala Harris, and then they can say, look, we had a black man as president, now we have a black woman as president. Aren't we progressive? They once again exploit identity politics, so people think, aren't they the party of diversity? Aren't they the great ones? And then the GOP is the awful, the whole sort of one is a good party, one is a bad party kind of thing. Nancy Pelosi, who could actually change this by accepting the $1.8 trillion stimulus package that Donald Trump has put out, and Donald Trump has put that out because he thinks he's going to lose. So he's basically, like all politicians do, he's throwing crumbs to the public and saying, I'm going to promise you this and I'm going to promise you that. You've got a car and you've got a car and you've got a car. You know, that Oprah Winfrey thing. They're both doing that kind of thing, except Nancy Pelosi is holding out because she wants people to be so desperate that they will vote for the Democratic Party. Because really, what have they got, basically? All they have, the Democratic Party, is we are not Trump. vote for us. They don't really tell people what they're going to do. They won't even give Medicare for all in a pandemic, even though a recent Yale study stated that the US would save $450 billion every year, plus save the lives of 70,000 extra lives with Medicare for all. But what do they do? They just ignore that Yale study because they're bought by the health insurance industry. They're bought by corporations. They're bought by Big Pharma. This is the cluster F, the SHIT show they've got going there in the US. And we have the beginnings of that here in Australia with the authoritarian wannabe government here and the opposition party, the Labor Party. Both are neoliberal parties, and they're showing signs of this. They're showing early signs of this sort of US shit show that's basically happening. So, these people, which is just one big party, you can see it right before your eyes, the Democratic Party and the GOP, they are just, they're using the suffering of the American people as like a political football and see who can, see who can break first and go, oh, well, we better give them this 1.8 trillion stimulus package. We better approve that because even though it's woefully under what is required, it probably needs about 5 trillion really for the American people to keep above water, for people with small businesses to keep their head above water, for people to be able to survive, just survive, getting through. I mean, some of these people, like a lot of these people haven't had any sort of support for the last 3 months. Even the woeful $1,200. They haven't had that for like 3 months. And now, as I mentioned, their people, 5 million people are going into long-term unemployment, which means that they probably will never, ever be able to get into jobs that they would normally get into, and they'll end up in a sort of a slave labor situation, and that serves the corporations perfectly. And since both the duopoly serve corporations, that's perfect. They drive people into a situation where they take whatever they can get. So that's a sort of a slave labor thing. I mean, Sweden is like a $27 minimum wage. The US has a $7.50 or something like that minimum wage. This is the sort of insanity they have going there. This is end-stage capitalism on display. And of course, they always have money for war because this end-stage capitalism is inextricably linked to imperialism. So, and with that, it's linked to fascism too, because the duopoly realize now that the public are catching on to this, are catching on to the fact that the government, no matter who's in office, in this stranglehold of the duopoly, which is so undemocratic, they know that the government, no matter who's in office, does not care about the American people, and they're starting to push back. And that's partly what all these protests are in the US. That's what the Yellow Vest protests are in France. France has it much more together in some ways than the US. The US, I don't know what it would take for them to really rise up and get rid of this awful duopoly. France doesn't take it laying down, and they go in there and they protest and protest and protest, and it goes on and on and on. This is why this is really a global issue, what's happening. We should all be internationalists, because what's happening in the United States eventually comes around to Australia. What's happening to Palestinians eventually comes back to the United States, to black people who've already been experiencing what apartheid Israel is doing to Palestinians, and then it will branch out to white people and all of that. There is nothing that is happening anywhere in the world that in some ways, if it's an oppressive thing by the oligarchs of the world, it's eventually going to come back to us all. If it's corporations oppressing a particular country more severely than another country, eventually what is happening to that with that country that's being severely oppressed is coming back to us. There is, at the present time, in Libya, due to imperialism, there's millions of people there's slave markets basically in Libya now, where there were none. This is what imperialism does. It's destroying the world, and US empire needs to fall. It needs to fall because we're all victims of it, including domestically inside the United States and all around the world. We're all victims of US imperialism. We're all victims of this end-stage capitalism, and ultimately it is going to end our species and most species on the planet. Because, as I said, end-stage capitalism is inextricably linked to imperialism and fascism, and end-stage capitalism will keep eating everything up until it's all finished, until we have nothing and everything. We're basically baking on a hot rock that's, circulating around the sun, and it's going to be the end of us, basically. The end of us, which some people might say is not such a bad thing, because it seems like we don't know how to behave in any kind of civil manner on this planet towards ourselves and towards other sentient beings whose only crime is that they were born another species. And that's why I'm vegan. So anyway, but back to this stimulus package, this 1.8 trillion stimulus package that's woefully under what it should be. Nancy Pelosi probably doesn't want to accept it, not because it's woefully under, but she wants people to suffer so they will vote for the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party has nada. It's only got, we are not Trump, vote for us. That's all they have. Biden is a Republican, and he is losing control of his cognitive function. He wants to frack. He wants to, he won't give people Medicare for all, even in a pandemic, and said he won't. He's basically a Republican and who's in cognitive decline. And the U.S. President, Donald Trump, is a fascist, Islamophobic, racist, misogynist in office. He is appalling, and he is going to get worse and worse if he gets back in. Both of these two are really very, very similar when you look at their policies, when you look at their attitudes. It's just one is going to take the U.S. faster into fascism than the other. But as I've mentioned before, the U.S. has the 14 defining characteristics of fascism already in place, and it's just being rolled out in different ways. And one party who's pretending to be the party of diversity and change and all of that, which is a nonsense, and the other party doesn't really care what we perceive about them. They're just going for it, undoing all the environmental protections and all of that. Joe Biden is fine with fracking. That's going to be a disaster. So it's just, we're watching end-stage capitalism with this big abscess that is bursting in front of us, and it all has to end. The whole thing is a shocking and anti-people, anti-environmental sort of system. Is racist to its core and everything else. It's white supremacist, both sides, and it has to end. So please check out these next two excerpts I'm going to play for you, which explain this much better than I could, because I'm not a big fan of following electoral politics. I have a lot of trouble watching this dreadful tug of war of the corpse of the American people. I find it just so appalling, because I understand MMT to some degree. It's very minimal understanding, but I understand enough. And Jordan Sheridan seems to understand MMT a little bit. He says he's going to get some more speakers on, like Dr. Stephanie Kelton, who was Bernie Sanders' economic advisor for 2016 and 2020, who is a proponent of MMT, and she can explain it very well. And you can find videos online, many, that will explain all the different things and why we should be outraged at how the U.S. government, no matter who's in office, is handling the public. So, when they go on about socialism, they're just fine about socialism for the rich, just fine. But as Martin Luther King said, it's rugged individualism for the poor. Anyway, please check out these next two excerpts. It's Carl Kalinske from Secular Talk talking about Medicare, and it's about 5 minutes long. And the other one is Jordan Sheridan from Status Quo. That particular independent journalist organization, Status Quo, I would invite you to support them. And support them financially, because they do really good work. So far, that's what I see. And so please support them. But anyway, Jordan Sheridan talks about how this issue that I've been mentioning briefly, he does a much better job, because I have a lot of trouble following the details of it, because it's just so awful. I know that this is just a big game for this duopoly, and they don't care one iota about the American public. But anyway, please check it out. And thanks for watching. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the notifications bell. Till next time, bye for now. Stay tuned.
Like, you don't even understand how much you're getting screwed if you're in the United States of America. Like, you don't get it. You don't get it. It hasn't really landed yet. Like, you're getting scammed on a regular basis, son. It's nonstop. I'm always thinking about, for example, the fact that the U.S. is the only developed country without paid vacation time by law. The U.S. is the only developed country without paid maternity leave by law. There are a million facts like this that are just insane. The idea that we're the only developed country that doesn't have one version or another of a universal healthcare system. We're so scammed. We get so scammed on a regular basis, and people just take it. We just sit back like cucks. Like, we don't have to take this. We can demand things from our leaders, but we have to actually do it. We have to actually demand it. We have to actually get out in the streets and do a general strike and say, we'll burn this whole thing down if you don't give us some basic fundamental rights. Free healthcare, free college would be nice. Paid vacation time by law would be amazing. There was a story the other day in Switzerland, $25 minimum wage now or something. Ours is $7.25. It hasn't changed in over a decade. Nobody can live on $7.25 working full time. You can work full time and not make enough money to live. Do you understand how insane that is? Anyway.
Me saying enough, accept the deal, Pelosi, is not an endorsement of the deal. 1.8 trillion is woefully inadequate, in my opinion. I think we need to be up to $5 to $6 trillion. And we have the money. Here's the deal. We actually have all the money in the world for all of this. Them waffling between 1.8 trillion versus 2.2 trillion is complete bullshit. Excuse my French, swear jar. The bottom line is this. We print money. It's called modern monetary theory. We have all the money in the world. Debt and deficit are not real things. Taxes don't pay for our actual expenditures. Taxes don't pay for, government services or Medicare or Social Security. We print the money. That's just a fact. Now, as Stephanie Kelton and Steve Grumbine will tell you, you have to be careful with how much money you print. You have to monitor inflation, but debts and deficits aren't a real thing. You want to know how I know? We're going on 20 years in Afghanistan. You think taxes fully covered the Afghanistan war? Hell no. We're between $2 and $3 trillion in Afghanistan. Add on Iraq. Add on the tax cuts W. Bush gave to the rich, the corporations, that Trump is giving to the rich and corporations. You think taxes are covering all that? Absolutely not. And it's a twofer. Not only can we print the money, but when they give these tax cuts to the rich, when they go to endless wars and spend trillions, they pay for it by cutting services for you and I. So the bottom line is, although 1 trillion is not enough, and it's not enough, and you know that I'm not big on the lesser of two evils, okay? I am a go big or go home kind of person. I am a bold progressive, progressive, okay? But right now is one of those situations where I say, I'll take less. We need less relief is better than none. And why I say this, and a lot of you aren't used to me talking this way, is because if the Democratic position right now is, no, we're gonna hold out for 2.2 trillion, which we've already gone down from our original 3 trillion. So we've compromised. We're compromising at 2.2 trillion. We're not going any lower. That's fine. You could be morally right. But this is not about morals. This is about desperation. Right now, people are desperate. I want to show you this chart. To the left, 15 to 26 weeks. That's how long 15 to 26 weeks people have been unemployed, okay? In September, nearly 5 million people. That's on the right. You see that 4,918,000? Nearly 5 million people have now been unemployed for 15 to 26 weeks, okay? Then you move to the left, 27 weeks and over, which, according to the U.S. Labor Department, is considered long-term unemployed. 27 weeks and over. Over 2 million people in September met that definition of long-term unemployed. The scary part of this, folks, and this is all related to coronavirus, the scary part of this is, well, that 15 to 26 weeks, again, the 4,918,000 number, that in October, when we get the jobs report for October in November, that number, 5 million more are on the precipice of reaching that 27 weeks or more, which is considered long-term unemployment. But in reality, what that means, folks, is permanent job losses are mounting. I don't give a shit that the unemployment rate has gone down. That is irrelevant. The unemployment rate is not the truest, most accurate measure of the unemployment picture. Real unemployment, which is different than the official unemployment, is more accurate. And then you look within the unemployment numbers at permanent job loss. Well, if nearly 5 million people in the month of September have been unemployed for 15 to 26 weeks, how are they supposed to survive? State after state, their eviction moratoriums have lapsed. I counted before I went live, 77 days ago. 77 days ago. That's nearly 3 months. The expanded $600 unemployment ran out. That's almost 3 months ago. What have people been doing since then? How are people to survive? So again, it's not that Trump's offer is good. 1.8 trillion is not enough. And by the way, even if Pelosi agrees to that, which we're starting to get more of a chorus telling her to agree to that. Here's Congressman Ro Khanna this morning tweeted, people in need can't wait until February. 1.8 trillion is significant and more than twice Obama's stimulus. It will allow Biden to start with infrastructure. Obama won in 2008 by doing the right thing on TARP instead of what was expedient. Make a deal and put the ball in McConnell's court. So that's Ro Khanna saying 1.8 trillion, it's not enough, but we don't have the luxury of time anymore. People are desperate. The fact that it has gone this long, again, 77 days have passed since the expanded $600 unemployment lapsed. The fact that it's gone this long without people getting extra help. The only help they got was Trump's, I don't even really understand how it works, executive order that gave an additional $300 a week, but only a few states have got that. The bottom line is, this isn't about right versus wrong. The Republicans are wrong. Trump is wrong. Their proposals are not enough. The Democrats are also wrong and frankly corrupt. Okay? The original bailout, you know the graphic. Let me find it. The original bailout, Pelosi drove the getaway car as Trump and McConnell looted the Treasury during a pandemic. That $3 trillion or $2 trillion coronavirus bailout, which really, when you leverage it, amounts to $4 to $6 trillion, that was money that did not go to you. It went to corporations. It was strings-free money that went to big corporations that did not need a bailout. Pelosi agreed to it, okay? Biden did not speak out against it. Sure, the expanded $600 a month came with it, but the poison pill attached to that was trillions of free money to corporations that didn't need it, and corporations that frankly could have survived a couple rocky months in the economy. But Pelosi and the Democrats agreed to it. So nobody is innocent here. Me saying that Pelosi should take this deal is not endorsing 1.8 trillion as enough. But the bottom line is, and I saw some people on Twitter arguing with me when I tweeted this morning. The people arguing for her not to take it are probably not the people desperately struggling right now. They're probably people that are relatively comfortable living in the suburbs right now watching MSNBC. Okay? So the people saying, no, hold your ground, Nancy, let's play politics, are probably not on the verge of losing their home. They're probably not going without health care right now. They're probably not deciding between medication or groceries for their kids. They're probably not exhausting their savings right now. They're probably not calling friends, family, long lost acquaintances asking for help. This is not time for politics. People are desperate. Sometimes we lose sight. Again, let me show you this number. All the way to the right, you see that 4,918,000? Let's just round it to 5 million. That's 5 million people that have been unemployed for 15 to 26 weeks. Right under that is nearly 2.5 million that have been unemployed for 27 or more weeks. So unless we think there's a massive roaring job surge coming for the month of October, which there's not going to be because coronavirus cases are increasing all over the country because our idiot fucking president and our idiot fucking government didn't do the right thing in the fucking first place and shut down the country. We should have shut down the country in March and April. I don't care what the civil libertarians have to say. Your right to go out like an idiot without a mask and don't tread on me is not greater than my right or your right to live. We should have shut down the country and had the government cover the payrolls so people don't go on unemployment for a month. The only way to stop this virus, you can contact trace till your heart desires. But the only way to actually kill the virus is to separate people from one another for a long period of time. And we didn't do that. And we had this hodgepodge of different states having different rules. And now the proof is in the pudding. We're at over 213,000 dead, which I think isn't the real number. I think it's much more than that. And estimates are going to have us near 400,000 by New Year. But at the end of the day, Those 5 million long-term unemployed, the 15 to 26 weeks, most of them have been without any federal help for the last 77 days. The 2.5 million that have been unemployed for over 27 weeks, they have been without federal help for 77 days. So I don't really give a shit. I don't care if it's Trump's fault. I don't care if it's Pelosi's fault. I don't want Trump and I don't want Pelosi. If there was a God, we'd have Bernie as the Democratic nominee right now. If there was a God, Bernie would be up 15 to 20 points right now because I think he'd be crushing Trump even more than Biden is crushing Trump right now. But right now, that's not the case. And right now, not only as a journalist, but as a human who cares about others, my priority, and I think what Rokana said in that tweet, again, you're starting to see progressives come out and tell Pelosi, take the deal. Yeah, it's not enough, but it's better than nothing. We can't go till February without federal stimulus. You're going to have a depression if you wait till February. And here's just one sample. I did a tweet this morning asking for people's stories, how long they've been unemployed. Somebody responded, I've been unemployed since March. Benefits run out in 2 weeks. Unemployment has only been paying out 25% of my usual income. My job will likely not be back until there's a vaccine. I spent all my paltry savings just on bills, food, etc., and an unexpected veterinarian bill. Another person. I worked at a restaurant near Disneyland for 10 years. I got laid off when COVID hit in March, and now I'm broke and very worried about the holidays because there may be no stimulus coming until next year, and thus no more extra unemployment dollars. These are just two stories, folks. Just two. So is my preference $1.8 trillion? No. But you want to know something? My preference is not to have a presidential contest between a lunatic, psychopath, racist, misogynist, Islamophobe versus a corrupt, warmonger, borderline senile Democrat. So my preference isn't being met in the presidential category. So economically speaking, it doesn't particularly matter. But it really angers me when I see people on Twitter or pundits on TV, no, Nancy shouldn't take the deal. Because these are all people in the DC bubble. These are all people who are doing just fine. They're not affected. These are the people that are not affected by this. I'm not on the brink of a food line. I have my own company. I had a little bit of savings. Okay? Me and my fiance are doing fine. But the difference in I and others is I might be doing okay. When I say, by the way, just to be clear, I'm not like wealthy or anything like that. I have my struggles just like the rest. But my point is, I'm not on the verge of losing my home. I'm not on the verge of, I'm not rationing medicine at the moment. I'm not, trying to figure out where my next meal is coming. Even though I am relatively comfortable that I'm not so dire like that, I also connect with the working class because those are the people I talk to. When I travel, those are who I meet. I talk to poor people. I talk to working people. I talk to black people getting screwed by the 400-year injustice of this country, brown people, indigenous people. So I'm not an MSNBC wine mom sitting there being like, as they drink their Chardonnay. This isn't a game. This is not a game, folks. People are desperate. And that 5 million number, nearly 5 million people have been unemployed between 15 and 26 weeks. Well, that 5 million number is now going to become 27 weeks or more in a few weeks. And 27 weeks or more is permanently unemployed. That's what that's what the Labor Department considers permanently unemployed. Nearly 5 million people are approaching long-term joblessness over the next 2 months. The same report showed that even as temporary layoffs were on the decline, permanent job losses were rising sharply. Those two problems, rising long-term unemployment and permanent job loss, are separate but intertwined, and together could foreshadow a period of prolonged economic damage and financial pain for American families. And by the way, just a quick detour. These people have been suffering before the coronavirus. This is the last 40 plus years. That red line is the great American bank robbery. That is your money, that is your future, that has been stolen from you and redistributed, i.e. corporate socialism, to plutocrats. That blue line is our share of the wealth. That red line is the Donald Trumps of the world's share of the wealth. The Nancy Pelosi's of the world's share of the wealth. The Bidens, the Obamas, the McConnells, the Jeff Bezos, So before coronavirus, we were already in a gilded age. It's gotten worse during coronavirus.